So I'd like to welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. We got Michael Schratt, we have Preston Dennett, filmmaker Darcy Rare, and Dr. J. Appreciate it. You know, there's a lot of stuff we got to discuss, and I think we're going to get to it. You know, the Congress has given us their preliminary reports. We're not getting much out of it. Apparently there's maybe some Congress sessions that we're going to be being held in the future. What's going to be coming of this? What are we going to expect? So let's get it started. Michael, I know you've been following this for many years. You're a historian, aerospace historian, and I think they're going to really give us anything, this Congress? Are they going to get any answers?
I think the public is ready to hear the real information. They want to see the crash retrieval data. They want to see the hardware, the bodies, the craft, all the debris. Anything less than that, we're just spinning our wheels.
No, I agree with that. Seeing the craft, the bodies, that's the end game of disclosure. Mm-hmm. And I'm not so sure we're going to get it, honestly, from the government, because they've been lying for so long. Why suddenly start telling the truth now?
Why do you think they're doing it now, though? Why have they just started this all of a sudden? It seemed like...
According to Lou, he got fed up at not getting anywhere and ate it. So him and Christopher Mellon left, and they grabbed those 3 videos that they released in New York Times. That's what started this all. If it wasn't for Lou going rogue, then we would have never had any of this.
Go ahead, Darcy.
I mean, you have to assume, if you listen to that story, that the military-industrial complex would allow somebody to go rogue within their institution and bring this to the public without their, verifying this data. And they have verified certain data that has been leaked, so to speak. But I still think it's part of an overarching plan that they have rolling out.
Yes.
Some kind of, they do want disclosure. But what that version of disclosure is, Michael Schratt said alien bodies, retrieval craft, that type of thing. This is the disclosure that the community has wanted, the ufology, the researchers from the past have wanted for the past 70 years, right? We're probably, I agree, to some degree, we're not going to get that version of disclosure. But the version that's rolling out right now is to the benefit of the military-industrial complex.
Exactly.
It's their...
They're doing it for them, not
and
for us.
and protecting the data to not give us the stuff we want, like the technology.
It's clearly tightly controlled.
100%.
It's possible that, my theory for why they might be releasing some of this information now is because they know that there's other competing nations on the planet that are maybe getting ahead of them with some of these technologies. And if we see China, India, all of these different countries going into space.
Yeah, we got to keep up. It's kind of like a sporting event.
They want to colonize Mars just as much as the Americans do.
Yeah. Another country might do disclosure. It might not be the U.S.
It might be, it might be one of the, and they want to get ahead of that. They want to be able to be where the public trusts and goes to for this type of information instead of some competing
That's
nation.
The main driving force. They want to remain in control of people's perception of this phenomenon.
So, Michael, these videos, they leaked, whatever, they came out. How were these videos obtained? Does anybody know? Did he go into the hard drive and downloaded it to his own little SD card?
From what I gather is that he just filmed them directly off of, and these were already unclassified, by the way.
Well, yeah, but the Tic Tac and Gimbal weren't filmed off the screen. These were static shots. There's a digital grab.
I don't know if he took a USB drive or something like that.
And why is Lou in possession if he's
of
the entire?
No, because
so he said,
how did classified.
I understand, but we only get these portions, right?
Yeah.
So.
How did he get out there? We know that.
Well, he said the reason why these, if you recall, with the crumbs, the small apples.
But he grabbed the film. He's the one that leaked the footage, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so when he leaked the footage or grabbed the material, the digital file itself, he just didn't grab a little clip.
No.
He has the entire file, right?
No. If someone was helping him, right, or approved of him to leak as he was out the door.
So this is just
Then the reason why we're not seeing all of it, like he answered in the interview, your question, is because it might reveal, our technology or our
So
position.
the
in the
redacted
sea.
video, and they said, "Here you go."
Yeah.
So it seems like there is a plan, right? Like
Yeah.
Lou's in charge of starting this awareness that there is this ATIP program.
That's right. ATIP and OSAP. Yeah.
How about there's always these programs that are trying to delve into this or investigate it, but in my opinion, I think they're just investigating something we're already aware of.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Robertson panel or Project Blue Book, these were investigations to prove to the public that nothing was there to see that was of importance,
It's
right?
a whitewash.
And Alan
And
Hynek did.
ATIP is something that wasn't supposed to be exposed to the public, so to speak.
That's true.
It was
But
a
it seemed
leaked-
like it was leaked
it was
purposely.
it was a leaked program. We don't know if it was leaked purposely yet from the powers that be. This is what the UFO community is assuming.
It's kind of a slow rollout.
It's a
We gotta
PR
make the
campaign.
awareness. Yeah.
They think that it's a bit of a PR campaign, but with the recent information drop, which was very minuscule, 20 pages, they're basically doing a confirmation of the phenomenon for the public. They're not trying to yet say that it's this or that. They're basically just confirming, yes, there are things in our sky that we need to investigate further. Everybody is assuming that this is going to be a ask for money investment proposal into the research of this phenomenon, but
So it's a money grab.
What I was really hoping would be in that 9-page report would be, a piece of metal. They kind of alluded to it. They have a piece of metal. They should have showed us that, or some more footage. What do we get? Lies upon lies, saying, "Oh, we're beginning to study sightings." Like, really, sightings? What about the Roswell craft?
Or anything from the history.
What
None
about
of it's been
landings?
covered. And what Lou said too is that only Navy was looked at, not Air Force, not International.
Yeah.
What about all the
Army.
USOs?
Thank you.
Right.
What about all the
Another
USOs?
thing. Why did we not get any footage of a submarine pilot filming while a USO is going at
What about the
hundreds of
UFO that
knots?
landed at Edwards Air Force Base, filmed by
Astronaut Gordon Cooper.
What
Where is
about
that?
I'd
the
like to
gun
see that
camera
footage.
footage?
You got this gun
The
camera.
gun
footage,
camera
yeah.
footage from World War II,
Fighter.
Vietnam, the Gulf War,
Yeah.
all that. They've
Yeah.
got warehouses of this.
Yeah, exactly.
We've
Show us
got to
that.
pierce through, or we're never going to get anywhere here.
But
I
didn't
so
we
agree.
accidentally erase over the lunar moon footage?
Yes, they say.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know about that?
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
I know
Well,
about
that's what
it.
they're saying, but they recovered it from and re-enhanced the video.
how
But
do
do you
you-
think they could be? Because what I've heard is that they've destroyed all the evidence because it's just so
Compelling.
sensitive to technology that they actually went out of their way to destroy every single bit of the craft that was retrieved.
I do
just
know
so it
that
never
they
get traced
don't
back.
leave paper trails, and
Well,
they've got first-hand accounts.
It would make sense that they would do that. If you look at the Executive Order 10501 that was established in 1952 by President Eisenhower, this was basically the very first document or law written into effect by our early president to safeguard national security interests. And it was basically a document, a law, that allowed any research agency or military industrial complex, defense agencies to classify material from the public. This is what people can just Google 10501, that executive order. Furthermore, if you look into NASA's study that they did with the Brookings Institute in 1961,
Condon.
no,
Okay.
no, this is the I think it's the implications of peaceful,
Interaction between,
peaceful human activities in space. And they ruled in that report that this is a think tank, third-party think tank research report, that the most highly sensitive topics that had to be kept from the public. And this is NASA and a third-party corporation that often works with our military-industrial complex, stating that the top two things would be face-to-face meetings with the extraterrestrials. NASA said this. And they had to keep nuclear energy and other exotic energy sources from the public. And so, with what Michael Schratt is saying, these are two documents that would prove that the government has a foundation to burn anything and to eradicate anything from the public eye legally and with logical background knowledge why they should do that to keep it from the public.
Another thing, legally, since the Freedom of Information Act came out, the government has done everything they can to get everything out of their hands and put it into private military corporations because they don't have to answer to the U.S. public. You could send a FOIA request about Roswell, but if the craft and the pieces and the bodies are sitting at EG&G or Bigelow's bunker, we're never going to get it. And that was one of the ways they circumvented it, because if they don't reveal what they have on FOIA, well, they're in violation of that act.
I think, you can speak to this, Michael, just the nature of how compartmentalized research projects are. If you get an FOIA from some civilian, a government agency, a research agency like NASA is just going to say, well, we don't have this data that you're asking for because we don't even know where to start to look for it. The people that would have this data are probably from a third-party corporation that's been researching this on behalf of the American military or government. So they usually say we don't have this information because they honestly don't have it. It's not part of their research agency to keep some of that, would you say?
I agree.
Well, we have reports that there is an underground vault at the Pentagon where a lot of this is kept. Now, I don't know how far you want to get into this, but do you want to breach the crash retrievals if you want to talk about crash retrievals?
What's below the Pentagon?
How much time do we have to
Go for it. We're still rolling.
So, Preston, you did a really good overview of the crash retrievals, and I think it's the one thing that could turn this around, because everyone around the world wants to see the physical evidence. And I'm glad you mentioned 42 Battle of Los Angeles, because that's forgotten about. People really don't think about there being 2 craft recovered. But even prior to Battle of Los Angeles, there is another crash retrieval that predates all of this.
1896 Aurora?
Well, close, but yeah, that would technically be correct. But
are you talking about Cape Girardeau, Missouri?
We're talking about Cape Girardeau.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 1941, because when we talk about crash retrievals, everyone immediately thinks Roswell, July 2nd, 1947. Well, if the stories are true, then it actually does predate that. That's 1941. It's actually April 20th, 1941. And what's interesting is there is some tangential evidence that supports this. I'm sure all of you know Rush Limbaugh, the late Rush Limbaugh. Okay, We've heard about Cape Girardeau before. Is there any evidence? Well, there was a listener that called in to Rush Limbaugh. This is 96 time frame. And before he became Rush Limbaugh that we know today as the radio announcer, he used to be an umpire. And he used to be an umpire in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And so this caller came in and said, well, Rush, I've heard that there was a UFO that crashed in Cape Girardeau. There were bodies, there were military recovered. Is that a true story? And he came back and said, there's more to that story than you might know. And that was the end of that. Hey, it's a piece of the evidence. It's not physical evidence, but it's something. Now, what we should do, though, is we're going to keep this visual, right? We're not going to go through all of this, but let's get through. Now, the bottom line here is there is one gentleman who got closer to this than I think anybody.
You mean
The photographer?
Well, there's one researcher who's passed away, 94, who got closer to the UFO truth of reality than anyone. This is just my opinion. And it's got to be Leonard Stringfield. Leonard Stringfield got closer than anyone because he allegedly talked to the first-hand eyewitnesses who saw the bodies, who handled the debris, who saw the craft, who were there in the reverse engineering retrieval operation. So his material was put into 86 three-ring binders that were at MUFON headquarters. They've been moved to another location, but essentially it's multiple three-ring binders. We do have access to those three-ring binders. Within this archive are essentially the best of the best within the three-ring binders. Now, this is just the visual ones. There's another three-ring binder that has all of his. So the scene is It's 10:30 p.m. It's Cape Girardeau, Missouri. There's a knock at the door. 10:30. Reverend William Hoffman enters. He answers the door. There's a policeman there. He says, "Reverend, we believe there's an aircraft crash. We'd like you to come to investigate it." So he gets into the squad car. They travel across town to a farm field of all places, and there's some burning debris there. Now, this is another one of these cases where the civilians got to the crash site before the military, like Roswell. Same thing with Roswell. It was the civilians that got there before.
Who here in the panel, if you showed up to a crash of a UFO, would you be grabbing the material and stashing it?
Of course.
We're not going to wait.
I would shove my
might be
pockets in my
radioactive.
socks. I would risk it.
Take
I
a
don't
piece
care.
never know.
and leave.
Yeah, that's what I would. I would not be around when the military's there. I'd be gone.
How many people in Roswell still have debris today?
I think it's there. I think
It's
somebody's
there.
holding
It's
on
there.
to it.
It's
Have you heard about this
They got
geologist?
back some of it.
That's true, but have you heard about this geologist that's living there now? And he goes out every day with a
Metal detector?
Yeah, and he's pulled a lot of pieces already.
Interesting.
Yeah, at least 6 that I know of, maybe
Still there.
more. Linda.
Is it the memory metal? Is it any of this?
No, it's more of like the one that Tom DeLonge bought from Linda.
Okay.
And the one that Linda has, like where it's
The
like
slag?
99.99% aluminum or nickel.
So where's this piece now? Was it ever studied?
It was actually shown in Ancient Aliens. It was studied, but it just showed what the composition was.
So somebody, didn't Tom DeLonge buy this
He
for
bought
like
one
$30,000 bucks?
for $30,000 from
the
Linda.
thing that went nowhere.
Yeah.
Like there was.
Yeah.
It just
We were
kind of-
scrabbling for tiny little pieces. Right
Right.
behind the curtains, the whole crap.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just driving me nuts.
So not to derail your story here.
Right.
You know,
Paul Blake Smith.
what would be your sort of summation, your theory there in terms of what we need right now in terms of disclosure that relates to that?
Well, all leads and all roads lead to one place, and you guys know where that is, right?
Below the Pentagon, you're
Well,
saying?
that's one, but Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Yeah, the
all
Blue Room.
roads lead to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Blue Room, right?
Okay. Could be the Blue Room. Could be the Blue Room. So we've got Reverend William Hoffman in the squad car. They get to the field. When they get there, it's late at night now. It's dark out. There's some flames around the crash site. There are some farm people that are walking around. There's newspaper reporters walking around taking photographs of things. And so what we did is we took all the information from the alleged eyewitnesses. We put that all together. And here is the scene at Cape Girardeau. There were 3 bodies recovered. One was still alive. And you can see the fire department is on scene at this time. There were some burning debris in the background. But the bottom line is one was still alive. And when Reverend William Hoffman kneeled next to this quote-unquote living
Prayed for him,
alien,
right?
Yeah,
he
last
almost
rites.
basically prayed over him. He expired within 60 seconds of the Reverend getting there.
And didn't a photographer show up? Like they hired some newspaper
now you
photographer?
got it.
Where's
Yeah,
this
you got it.
footage?
Did they
is this-
hold up the ET and they took a photo of
They
him?
took a photo
Very
of
well
him.
done.
When I
Very
see
good.
your artistic rendition of this scene, I mean, I basically see a gray. Is this one of the earliest descriptions of what would be described
Well,
as a
they're
gray
always
alien?
described. They're always described as 3.5 to 4 feet tall, very little hair, if any, very minute nose, a slit for a mouth, almost no ears, and what's termed as squiggly or Casper the Ghost type configuration for the body. That's
And no teeth, right?
almost no teeth. Yes, that's and they're always wearing this one-piece tight-fitting flight suit that they don't know how they get on. That's something that we heard of before. Now,
They can't get that suit over their head. That's
Yeah.
Or
hilarious.
isn't it like weaved on?
almost
Yeah.
fully integrated.
I would
That's
just
crazy. That's
before
pretty cool.
before we move on, I just
Right.
wanted to say, would you say if this is such a predated report, even before the Roswell,
Correct.
New Mexico crashed, would you say then this couldn't be, our own technology? This couldn't be our own occupants. This is obviously some kind of extraterrestrial incident.
Or could it be possibly time
Let's see
travel?
what he
Yeah.
says.
No, I'm open. It could go either way. Remember, these guys are good. Okay, these guys are good. There are reports from the Roswell incident that there was a lot of German spies, because remember, during Operation Paperclip, we had people going to White Sands, we had Fort Bliss, Texas, we had Wright Field, which later became Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. There were a lot of spies at the time, and the CIC, Counterintelligence Corps, they didn't know who's who. So we have reports that Factions of the Roswell incident involved a quote-unquote stovepiping operation where 7 different craft were built, and this was designed to smoke out German spies. Now, how do we prove it, right? Where's the evidence? That's one scenario. But to get back to Cape Girardeau, this was approximately 30 feet in diameter. It augured in at about a 45-degree angle. There was a hull breach on the side of the craft exposing the, you could say, instrument panels. Also, we had buttons and switches and dials and levers, a very mechanical, man-made looking craft. So this is like scene number 1.
So when people, cast aspersions and doubt about whether there's possible extraterrestrial involvement, with our planet, are these craft we're observing just our own technology, but very black, technology? With this case that happened way back in the 1940s, we have to look at the timeline of when this happened. And, if we're referencing Project Paperclip, like you were saying, that happened post-World War II. We were only just starting to get the best of the NASA scientists brought into our ranks here to do research. Do you really think that quickly we would have reverse engineered craft that could do this? They've been crashed, and then we have these, what people would describe as extraterrestrial entities in all the experiencer cases, these, what look like gray entities with big black almond-shaped eyes, gray skin, maybe possibly pale or dark green to some people's eyes. What do you think?
Well, I see your point. It seems early, right? But we can't discount any possibility or theory because their mandate is to lie, deny, confuse, and discredit. So we have to look at it through those glasses, right? I mean, we're dealing with people who are professionals here. If they want to put forth a certain scenario, they'll make it look believable. But again, to answer your question, 41 seems a little early, right, for them to be pulling that. I'm open to all options, and we all should be critical and skeptical and fight the urge to jump on any bandwagon until we've really looked under every conceivable nook and cranny and exhausted that before we look at this possible scenario.
What's your summation of this scenario? Do you think it's off-world craft?
Well, I just go by what the eyewitness said, right? What Reverend William Hoffman said he saw.
So I think Darcy's trying to get your personal opinion.
What do I think? I just have to be open. I have to be neutral.
Yeah.
I have to be neutral.
What about you, Preston? What do you think?
I think they're aliens.
Yeah,
I really do, because if you look at it from all the evidence as a whole, it's pretty clear that the military is baffled by what's going on. But we've got so many cases where the planes are chasing these things down. You can hear the pilots, cursing and streaming a stream of curse words as they're looking at this stuff. They don't know what it is. I've talked to military officials. They're completely baffled. I don't think it's us. I don't think it's a foreign government. I've talked to enough experiencers who've had first-hand interactions with these guys. They're absolutely convinced they're extraterrestrials. It's a very logical theory. It's the theory, I think, which best fits the evidence.
And what about people who have been taken to their worlds or bases?
Yes, and that does
sounds
happen.
more like it's extraterrestrials than time travelers. Now, I'm convinced some are time traveler cases. Obviously, some are humans. I'm not talking about human time travelers. Some of them are back-engineered craft. But in 1941, I don't think we back-engineered anything by then. I mean, we were still very mechanical, no computer. Foo Fighters were seen all over the world at the time. This is right after Pearl Harbor, before Pearl Harbor. Even so, I think it's ETs personally.
But if you go back in history, like the ancient texts, Sumerian texts, they talk about these,
The Shems.
The Shems. They
The
talk
Anunnaki.
about the Anunnaki. We have like 3-stage rockets that we're seeing in their hieroglyphs.
So, ancient India.
So we have this ancient megastructures across the planet. So there's obviously a technology that has been hidden all this time. Maybe it's a relation to what we're seeing here, that these
that could have been hiding
beings
out
could
on
have
Earth
been
all this
hiding
time.
out all this time, maybe underneath the oceans and underwater bases, right? There's
It's possible.
and they're just
I heard a
hiding.
Fravor interview, and he said that because he flies so much, obviously, right? Ocean, 2/3 of the ocean is covering the Earth. We still can't get to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. And he said if he was an ET and he wanted to monitor human civilization, he's going to hide underwater.
But maybe not necessarily ET. Maybe just a
Whatever
race
it
or
is.
some kind of
Another
life form
race.
we're not aware of yet.
It might even be an Earth-based.
So the
you're
theory
right.
you're talking about, which has been posed over and over again in many different versions of this story, hollow Earth theory. These races would be what people would describe as crypto-terrestrials.
Right.
Something that may have existed before mankind started showing up on the planet, and they just went underground.
That's a good theory. I think so. Yeah.
But are they, are crypto-terrestrials us, but further advanced? Are they just different? And, there's not enough proof out there to prove these theories, even in the...
Let's just say, would anybody be disappointed if they came out with the truth and just told us, hey, look, we have this life form, whether it's crypto or extraterrestrial? I wouldn't be
I'd be happy.
I'd be happy either way.
Yeah, finally we get truth.
Either it's an ancient life form, this would be just as good as any disclosure.
You still have to go to work Monday morning.
Yeah, and if they show us this ancient life form and we get to see him on interview or camp, you know what? I'll be finally satisfied. It's like we finally got to where we're looking to go.
I mean, some of these may be crypto-terrestrials, but let's face it, it's a wide universe.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stars out there. It's logical that there are extraterrestrials. It's almost inescapably logical.
I wouldn't be surprised if we have all of it.
Sure.
Crypto-terrestrials, ultra-terrestrials.
Time travel.
It's a multi-headed hydra. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's
People
what
try
I
to
believe.
lump this all
And
under
I'm
one
sure
Can't do
explanation.
that.
What's a multi-headed?
It's
Hydra?
just it's a multi-pronged phenomenon. It can't be explained by one.
Single answer.
Correct.
Yeah, it's multiple answers coinciding. Some would probably be more startling than others, but there's probably a layer of truth to each one.
Isn't
I
there
think
like an
most-
agreement we've made with them apparently too, that they're protecting us?
They
want to be kept a secret.
I've
and
spoken with
there's-
Michael about this in the
And they
past.
protect us from asteroids, and they'll continue to do so. But we got to keep them
The theory is
not
that
exposed to the public.
there was a kind of a theory that came out, that possibly Eisenhower met with a group and
54.
made a deal.
At Edwards Air Force Base.
Yeah.
But this story really kind of hit the scene and spread like wildfire. But there's not enough actual conclusive data to prove that happened. It just sounds like Project Serpo. It sounds like some kind of, very high science fiction storyline that would play out really well on a Hollywood,
But do we have any
So
conclusive
pressed
data
in-
to anything?
I don't know. I look.
Yeah.
we do have conclusive data to certain things. We have so much testimony. We have so much corroborated evidence of certain events going down in history. In terms of UFO crashes or UFO eyewitnesses. There is proof of that type of stuff. This is just a story.
I think Preston has the most evidence.
Now, I looked deeply into the 1954 Edwards meeting, and I can tell you that from the beginning, there was first-hand witnesses coming out. A lot of researchers have looked into it, and the evidence is adding up that something happened there.
Okay.
And
So
if you
can we
look at
talk-
Edwards,
Talk about that
That's-
letter too.
the letter from Gerald Light
Yes.
to Meade Lane.
Yeah.
Gerald Light was one of the people who was allegedly there and put out this letter describing the whole incident. That was the first real leak.
Yes.
Now, what was Gerald Light's role? What did he do while he was there? He was just a
was
personnel
a-
on the base?
No, he was part of the UFO expert. So
Yeah,
to
there was a
speak.
lot of entourage.
But what they had was
So
a
you're
lot of
saying
people
like
from,
a Clifford Stone type character?
right. There was leaders in rocketry,
Yeah.
leaders in science, leaders in religion,
Yeah.
leaders in journalism. They had a bunch
Bishop
of,
McIntyre, right?
Yeah.
Howard Hughes, Einstein was present, from what I
and
read.
there are some high-level people within the military-industrial complex who are talking about this. Don Phillips is one. There are others. More and more evidence is coming out that something happened. A lot of researchers are beginning to take this incident pretty
Shut-
seriously.
Don't
And it
hold
was
back.
film.
Why don't you just explain your experience with this story?
Preston did a very good job describing it. What do we know? Well, we know that Eisenhower was big on golf. Okay, so why didn't he play golf somewhere on the East Coast, somewhere near Washington, D.C.? Why fly all the way to Palm Springs? That's number one. Number two is we do know for a fact that he was in Palm Springs at that country club, and we also know that when he allegedly disappeared via helicopter to Edwards North Base complex, they threw a big party for the press at the exact same time. So that checks out. It's all circumstantial, right? Because we don't have any
Yeah.
proof.
He
but-
supposedly had a dental emergency. That was proven not to be
The
true.
media reported that he died. For
yeah,
a couple
that's
hours.
true too. There were some things
Who?
there.
Eisenhower?
Yeah,
Why?
because they couldn't
Yes,
find him.
that's exactly
Oh.
correct. You're
They
right
thought he
about
was
that.
kidnapped or something?
No,
Thought
they
he had a
thought
heart
it was
attack.
Heart attack. Yeah.
Oh, because he
It
was
was-
a bit older at this time.
I should also mention too, Paul Blake Smith wrote a brand new book about
The
the entire
bombshell.
Eisenhower. Okay, so he started with MO41, but now he's moved over to Eisenhower, and he's going to cover 73 Jackie Gleason, which we can talk about
Yeah,
later. But
Nixon.
he's doing a fairly good job tracking these down. I think he's made a good case. It sounds crazy, I know, but I'm tending to agree with you, Preston. There's more and more evidence to support that Eisenhower might have met with.
So
Tim-
who negotiated this meeting? Like who? How are they? There's logistics behind like how we got everybody here together today.
Right.
Like, so it takes a while, and it's a lot of like time to put this kind of meeting together. So who made contact first? Did like a alien flying saucer go to the White House and go, "Hey, let's set this meeting up. Let's negotiate this." How who instigated this?
We look at Holloman Air Force Base incident that's quite famously spoken about.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
apparently a craft, which we do have a few frames of film that has been shown in a documentary,
Gordon Cooper you're
UFOs.
talking
No.
Oh.
That's the documentary. It's called UFOs Past, Present, and Future. And this was very groundbreaking at the time, but we see a few apparently actual film frames of a shining UFO type object approaching a landing strip at the Holloman Air Force Base. That's all we get to see. Apparently there's more footage of that, but what had happened, many eyewitnesses had seen happen that day, is this UFO approached, landed on the strip, an occupant got out, spoke to a military captain, I believe, and they went off to a room and continued their conversation. And I think, that could be how some of these interactions were initiated in the past. If we're talking about a superior technological race that wants to evade our detection and just approach somebody to negotiate something, they can do it if they really want to.
Well, they had a lot of high-level people there all at once. So it's
Especially,
clear they had forewarning.
especially
Of course.
this far back in time, they could. I think now, given how advanced our reconnaissance and our tracking of space and objects with the NRO, the NSA, NASA, every research agency out there that's monitoring space, they're going to know when an object's coming to Earth.
There might
and
be like
trying to leave.
ambassadors that travel to planets that are, advanced, and they get into this weaponized, and then there's these ambassadors that want to go out there and quell it.
Kind of like we have with the UN ET ambassador now, which they've appointed a few years ago.
This discussion is going to go on, and we're not going to stop. But guys, it's been an amazing ride having you guys in this roundtable discussion. I think we got a lot accomplished, and we're going to have to do it again. The story's not over. What do you call it? There's this cosmic Watergate, and it's happening right now, and we gotta rip it and expose it.
One thing I would say is we have to remember what the driving force is here is the ETs, is the phenomena itself.
Yeah.
And I think disclosure is, they're kicking and screaming and kind of dragging their feet about it, but the driving force behind it is the ET presence. It could end this whole cover-up overnight.
That's
course.
right.
And they very well may do that. And I think
Well-
this is what the government is afraid of.
Last words, Dr. J. Go ahead.
Yeah, General Lachette, when he said in December that Trump wanted to release the information, but the ETs told him not to, or they don't want to, I guess we're not ready. You're right, they could end it anytime, but for whatever reason, I don't know why they want to wait a little bit. Is it because we're immature? Is it because we're going to overreact? I don't know, but
Well, we are immature.
that's very
And we
true.
would overreact.
Yeah.
Plus, the other thing too is there is a cross section of society that could care less.
Oh,
That could care
I
less.
agree.
Look at 2017. People would have thought that that would have made a huge splash. If that same information drop happened in the mid 90s,
It would have been.
it would have been
Phoenix
all
Lights,
over
yeah,
the world.
Yeah.
All over the
So it
front
seems
page.
like we're already.
People don't care.
That's right.
Well, it seems like we're ready for it then. If we're so desensitized
I'm
to
ready.
this topic,
I'm so
then
ready.
it seems like we're all ready.
Been ready since the mid 80s.
Yeah.
Absolutely.